Get a home court.
I don't have it.
ISLP 1069, Winterville, Aden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville,
You said
North
you sent it to
Carolina.
me by what?
Good morning.
This is Awesome Radio. Thank you so much for joining us every day today, 24 hours. This is a live show we're about to embark on. It's called Human Sex Trafficking and More with the host, Ron Lean Kennedy. You can join us online at wbilsawesomeradio.org. You can join us on the radio dial at 106.9 on our social media platforms and our mobile apps. We have Alexa Skill, we have Android, and we have Apple. Please remember that during the course of these shows in May, the human sex trafficking and more, there are free books to be given away from the author Alexandria Dean. And she is on the show with us on today and every Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the month of May, From Heaven to Hell and Back a Few Times. This is a very interesting and very detailing book about sex and human trafficking. Yours for the asking. It's yours for free. 252-752-2008 is the happy number to call. That's 252-756-2008. You can also request your free copy of this book from our social media platforms and from Alexandria Dean platform, Facebook and YouTube. Ronleen Kennedy is the host, and here she is right now.
Hello, how are you this morning? Thank you so much. And we're going to introduce our panel real quickly. All right, so we have Raven Steigoff. She is she is our expert for of the occult resident. We have Kimberly Butts. She is a private investigator, former police officer. We have Sorella Perry. She is the founder of, I'll let her is uh, I want to apologize for the sound that we have. And then we have Alexandria Dean. She is the author of From Heaven to Hell and Back a Few Times. And I'm just going to let her just briefly just come on in and and just talk about what we're going to be talking about. Alexandria?
Yes, good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate you. Well, today we will be talking a little bit about what happened that allowed me to come out of being trafficked by my mother. Um, I was trafficked beginning at age 11 until I was 15 years old. So when I was 13, there was a car accident that I was involved in, and I was in the hospital for a few days. Actually 7 or 9 days, something like that. But it gave me enough of a reprieve to be able to, to come out of that fight or flight. So I actually could think about what had been happening to me. At that point, I began to, run away from my home once I was healed because I didn't have to do some of the work for a little while. And then I say work, and that is when I was being trafficked. So I was then made to be trafficked again. And as a result, I started running away and was trying to go and live with my father, which I did eventually live with my father, and social services had stepped in. Still, nobody knew what my mother was doing. Then my father raped me, and I ran away from there. No, actually, he took me back to the guardian ad litem because I had an appointed attorney to the state to represent me for where I was going to live, because at that point I was 13 years old and had a say of where I was going to live. I then was in a youth shelter, waiting um, you know, a foster home to come available for me. And uh, when that happened, I was able to go into my first foster home. Um, the first foster home was also abusive sexually. And so I wound up going, I ran away from there and went back to the youth shelter. Every other weekend, when my mother had visits, I was made from the time I got there until the time we left. I was being trafficked the whole time. So when I went into the shelter, I didn't have overnight visits at my mother's. And so that made a huge difference. At this point, I went into my second foster home and I had just turned 15. And when I turned 15, I was able to, be in a safe foster home, which in order for me to be there, they said I had to be there for 3 months without any overnight visits anywhere and minimal contact with anyone else. So they could really get to know me, which helped tremendously. So when I did get the opportunity to go visit my mother overnight, again, from the time I walked in until the time, um, from the time I left, I was trafficked again. So I came back to my foster parents, a very different person, extremely traumatized. And at that point, I did not have to go back to my mother's for an overnight visit, nor did I have to go to my father's for an overnight visit. And so for the first time in my entire life, I was safe. And they could not reach me anymore to cause me any harm. And that is how miraculously I was able to exit being trafficked. And so, yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much. And look out for those that um, who did not understand what you were saying. So you, all you've known all of your life is being trafficked. And then once you got into the foster care system, you found one foster care um, parent that you were actually safe, for the first time in your life. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. And so you went, so I want to get into the grooming and things like that, for the topics that we're talking about today, the grooming, the types of abuse that you went through, the psychological and physical implications that you went through. And then we wanted to talk about the transfer, the transactions dealing with power versus money, and then the brainwashing and coercion. And so if from the weeks that we've been into this situation with you, um, we have learned that you have been groomed for this ever since you were in diapers, you said. Okay. This is what you discussed in your book. And of course, um, whatever is happening to that situation, this is all you've known because this is diapers. So at what point did you discover that this was wrong? Everything that was happening to you from your parents, your mother and your father. And we talked about the different types of the okay, so we're talking about baseline and then A and B. So all of those things that comes into play there, you realize that you fell in B because neither one of them were healthy. Okay, so with you coming out of that, you're feeling safe for the first time in your life to know that, listen, this is now I'm on the right path. So what happens from there, Alexandria?
Um, if I can just briefly talk a moment about grooming. So when you said that I was being groomed from diapers, I firmly agree. What that means is, what does that actually look like? I was touched before, by somebody that is not supposed to touch me in the areas that I was touched in. Um, Lessening my inhibition and making it clear I could not say no. Those are ways of bringing about grooming. So when someone is grooming at a later age, it's a touching that is inappropriate, but you're not exactly positive as a child. You know something isn't right, but it's a way of slowly chipping away at your ability to say no, your understanding of this is right and not, and that is wrong. So it's a blurring of the lines to allow somebody to take advantage of you. That is what grooming is all about. So I just wanted to clarify that before we move on. And I don't recall what your question is now. Could you please repeat it?
Okay, well, we're going to transition on because we need to moving today. So, Raven, take over.
So, what I'm noticing that Alexandra's talking about when it comes with the grooming is you're creating a new normal and you're normalizing behavior that is otherwise completely abnormal. And that's what gives those people power over the victim. And relating that to the occult and and this world that I deal with, that's exactly the same. Is how do we take what would be, as you said, baseline, normal, healthy behavior? How do we take that and create a new normal that suits our ends, that suits our means? And that's where kind of the occult and sex trafficking can be really, really, really similar, in that the occult uses a lot of sex trafficking. But in both worlds, it's about creating a new normal so that the individuals involved don't have either the language or even the experiential knowledge to know that there is something different or something better than what they're living in.
Okay, Kimberly, weigh in.
It's knowing that the victim has no power. And they teach them that they have no power and no value. So I think what Alexandra and was saying is that she felt like she had no power and no voice when this happened to her. And a lot of times, young men, young women, or children feel like no one's going to listen to them. So I have to be here because I have no value.
Okay, Sorella, weigh in. First of all, since I messed up the foundering, tell us what what you're the founder of.
Um, you mean my organization?
Yes, please.
Okay. One Vision, One Purpose is actually a nonprofit organization that helps in transitional housing, mainly for at-risk people. It's not necessarily just the trafficking or whatever, but it is a transitional space that helps people kind of get it together before they go back into the real world. It helps out with the counseling aspect. And, some people have been in this reality for so long that they've lost touch with the fact that the world still goes on, even if they're in the space that they're in. So, what it does is it's just like a reset for them to prepare them to be able to better deal with life outside of, their current circumstances. So, that's basically what the nonprofit does. And this, to me, was, so close to my heart, to where having to experience a lot of these things firsthand with someone who's actually been a victim of sex trafficking, the emotional roller coaster that you have to deal with, the fact that you have to get away from that, your own feelings of like, well, how could you have let this happen and this kind of stuff. You have to really just turn on the faucet of love to just know that if people know better, they'll do better. And I think this is one of the situations with this particular show. I think it's going to be so helpful to everybody who's watching, that if you're not aware, then you can't take the proper steps to be able to help or prevent this from happening to someone else. But I think this is a good forum, and to be able to just get high level, because it's definitely more levels to it than this. But it's just high level to be able to understand that this is happening, whether you see it for yourself or not. There are ways of getting help during and after something like this happens to someone that loved ones, or even people who are more at risk. Like she said, with the grooming, if if you can't if you're being groomed at an age where you can't even communicate, then everything that is being shaped and formed. So when it is time, you express yourself way differently than what you would have in a normal situation. And those are some of the things you have to look at too, because you got um you know girls who are considered promiscuous, but it's a cause and effect type situation. And that allows for people to just have their antennas up if you know what it is that you're looking for. So I think this is an awesome forum, like I said, to be able to help just understanding the basics of it. And I'm just glad to be a part of this, just being able to see the other side of what's happening.
Okay. All right. Alexandra, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yes, I think that you guys explained it very, very well. I just wanted to make sure that people understood what grooming is, because a lot of times, that word would be thrown around a lot, but the understanding isn't there like it should be. And I think it was a great definition and a great way of explaining it all. Thank you.
All right. And this is why we need your training out here, because all of us have received your training to really understand the different things from the perspective of a victim who is now a survivor. And so, we could talk clinical, we could talk theory all day long, but until you hear from someone who has actually been in it, and who has actually found their way out of it, and know that this transition of coming out of it is not easy, because you're dealing with the
No.
nightmares, and they come in, here and there. It's something that you can't control. So weigh in on that for me, Alexandria.
Sure. So, nightmares have a huge impact on the healing process, because a lot of times our brain is trying really hard to um, understand and make sense of the activities of the day, and the different things that have happened to you. So when a nightmare comes in, in my situation in particular, I'll give you an example. I guess it was a few months back. I had a horrible nightmare where I woke up still thinking that somebody was in my room. So there are some Johns out there that their thing is to watch children or watch someone while they're sleeping or something like that. So um, I would literally wake up to men either under my bed or in the closet or in the shadow next to the door in the middle of the night. And it's very, very terrifying to wake up like that. I mean, it's terrifying to wake up to somebody in your room anyway. But to actually have the boogeyman there for real, it's horrendous. So I woke up a few months ago. Um, my heart was racing and pounding so hard that I could literally see my blankets moving. And I knew immediately what was going on, and I had to really talk myself down to know, no, I am in my home, I am safe, and I am okay. But these are the things that tend to happen. So to really get an understanding, we're going to go from head to toe what traumas occur. So when you see someone experiencing a trigger, or they're saying that's triggering to me, you'll have an understanding of what actually is going on in their head, so that you're able to best help them where they are. So, the traumas that occur to someone's head that's been in human trafficking, they wind up generally with a traumatic brain injury, a TBI, because of the trauma to the brain, concussions, frontal lobe issues, beatings to the face, beatings to the back of the head, being knocked out from those beatings, torture to the ears, the nose, the mouth, the eyes. Those are just some of the things for your head. So if we move on to the neck, being choked out from the front or from the back, repeated neck contortions, putting your neck and head in different um, areas. So for the back, a ragdoll treatment. So you're just kind of flung around like you're a rag dog, a rag doll, excuse me, or like a dog. Um, Cuts, scratches, burns, beatings, whips. These are just some of the things that come to mind. Um, and understand that muscle memory is for real. So moving on to the chest, pinches, cuts, again, beatings, breast trauma. Um, and then you have the arms and the legs, um, handcuffed either in front of or behind you, being tied up and restrained, sadistic acts and tortures, breaking of bones. Um, and for some of us this is 5 to 6 days a week, and there are those, my dear brothers and sisters, that experience this all the time without a break of any kind. um, Moving on to the abdomen, and the legs. So the legs, being tied up either together or apart, um, just breaking of the legs, so that they cannot run, um, and breaking of the feet, um, and different fetishes of that sort, but breaking of the bones in the feet so that you cannot run. Um, Something else that really has an amazing impact is drug and alcohol. Um, the being forced to get high, the fight not to get high, or not to need to get high, um, reality check of who, what, where am I? So um, being high, but you're thinking, is this for real or is this, you know, part of the high? So there are um, people that are addicted to different things because they were forced to. And then there are people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol because they are trying to escape from what they've experienced. And having compassion for these situations is, vital. And so when somebody says, I'm triggered, these are the things that they've experienced. Just some of the things. Um, so it is important to be able to meet someone where they are, because, but with love and compassion. So being somebody who is in the counter trafficking world, it is imperative that you take care of yourself before you give care to someone else. No different than what we hear on the airplanes. Put the mask on yourself so you're alive to be able to help the other person, right? Well, it's the same thing with helping those of us that have been trafficked. If your heart isn't in the right place, you're causing more harm than good, because what you say in those moments where you should be helping has a lasting impact on people. And one example is, and I'm not sure if she'll be watching at any point, but Hannah Blair, sweet lady, uh, had something similar happen where she was told, a woman like you gets her child taken away. So that a woman like you kept ringing in her head even after she was safe. And then it was a whole other mountain to climb to cross over that. So a lot of times, it I just want to reiterate, it's important to have love and communicate compassion well to the victims and survivors, because it's imperative.
Thank you so much for that. And you just hit on a point. I just was talking with a couple of people from the hotel industry, and they gave me some insight on what trafficking looks like when it comes through their industry. You could tell when if there's actually a high end hotel, you can tell the way those women and men come through there. Half of the time, they're being pushed in, that kind of thing. They're not even coming in on their own, or they're limping, something is wrong or whatever. And then the people who are the housekeepers, the cleanup that happens from those rooms of what has taken place, you
Mm,
know um, the drugs and
yes.
alcohol, as you said, abundance of that is going on to be able to keep these people submitted at their will. And then, of course, all of the guests that's coming in that never checked in, but they know exactly where to go, and that kind of thing. And that just looked so horrible. It sounded horrible. And, you're thinking that, okay, well, that person really wants to be there. But as we went
Mm,
through training, we found out that is far from the truth, and we need to be doing something about that. So right now we're going to transition. We have this book giveaway. You're listening to WBISLP Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM. And the number to call for your book, From Heaven to Hell and Back a Few Times, by Alexandria Dean, is set 252-756-2008. 252-756-2008. And so again, you are listening to Awesome Radio 106.9 FMLP. And we thank the staff for allowing us to be here with you all for the month of May for the human trafficking series. And our heart goes out to anyone that's suffering with any kind of mental health issues. And we want to just tell you today that there are resources for you to reach out to if you are going through these things. And as Alexandria pointed out, if you're being triggered right now, please reach out to someone to be able to get
Yes.
the help you need to get through it and to learn about the resources that you have 24 hours at your fingertips. So, right now, we're going to transition over to Kimberly, our investigator. I want you, Kimberly, to tell me from the perspective as being a former police officer, what what does people need to look for so that they can be informed and aware of what's happening when in their community? As I mentioned, the hotel industry. I can imagine, based on what Alexandria is saying, what happens at the hospitals. I can imagine what a couple of pharmacists has told me that they too have to go through the human traffic training so that they'll know if certain drugs are being ordered, to what they need to do in order to put investigative resources in place in order to find out is human trafficking being done that way as well through
Okay.
individuals that's ordering patients.
Okay. Two things. Well, actually, three. The first thing is that people, when you see something strange, um, don't just take it as, oh, that looks peculiar and go on about your business. But when you see something strange, report it. If the police checks it out and there's nothing to it, then that's fine. Or if you watch it long enough and you notice that there's a pattern, even while you're on vacation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about the hotel industries. My son works at a resort here locally. Um, at work, he kept noticing a pattern of young girls, different young girls, really young, he said, teenage years, coming in with the same older guy, looking afraid, looking scared, looking like they wanted help. Um, so he told me, just so happened his mother is an investigator. So, and which is going out to try to collect evidence to get proof that this is happening. But what you want to look for is you want to look for patterns. You want to look for patterns in any industry, whether it's a hotel, whether it's people coming into the at drugstore constantly at the same time, or whether it's at a resort while you're on vacation. Like I said before, we don't notice a lot of things on vacation, but if you really look at the people coming in and what's going on, I mean, one of the things that my son was telling me is that when one of the girls were brought in, she looked like she wanted to say, "Help me." And he could see it all over her face, like she was terrified. Um, so he said, "Mommy, what should I do?" I'm telling him, what we need to do is we need to get it on tape, get it on video, try to make contact with the local law enforcement so they can come out and set up a sting, because you got to watch it and then report it. Don't just not say anything. That's how we're going to be vigilant. That's how we're going to stop and cut down these things. And once we get the girls away, I'm so glad for people like Zarella can help get them back and give them another chance at life. But the first thing is to try to get people to speak about it, to get people to report it. If you see it, report it. Saying to them, "Hey, this is not normal. There's something going on. This person is crying for help with their body language, or how they're presenting their face, or please help me. Please stop this. Somebody, anybody, you know." And a
Okay.
lot of times Drugs is used to control a person, to make them calm, to make them not care about what's about to happen, to relax, to be easy. If you see a person going into a situation and they're too relaxed, they're too easy, they're almost out of it, um, even in their conversation, that's another thing to stop and report.
Okay, so Alexandria, speak for the victims in this
Mm.
manner.
Yes. So, Kimberly, I commend your son. He is brave. um, it is. It's important to let them know that we see you. We see you. You can also call and report it to the hotline 888-373-7888, as well as 233-733, and that's the number to text. Um, it is hard to, when you're in the situation, to cry out for help, because a lot of times you're being beaten if you look like you're going to say something, if you are behaving in a way that you're going to say something, or if you let someone know in some fashion. So, um, not just questioning is very vital. And just like Kimberly is saying, that they have to have things in order for prosecution to take place, which, let me tell you, public, you have a voice. Use it. Talk to your representatives, talk to your senators, let them know you want something done to help the victims a lot more. Cry out. You have a voice, use it. We are learning that we have a voice, we need to use it. um, but a lot of times we can't, as a victim, we can't let you know, because someone will get hurt, whether it's me or someone that I love, and that I'm trying to protect. So if you see something that just isn't right, text, call, get in touch with your local government, your local police, your state police. Have those numbers plugged into your cell phone, so that way you can take action. We need you to take action. This is the whole reason why we are doing this, that I do training, so that you know what to do, you know how to respond, you understand where that victim is now. Now that you know, you can do something better. And so this is my appeal to you. Please get up, help out, put information in your phone so that it's readily available and you know where to look for it, and make those calls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you saying that. And yes, my heart goes out to Sorella, and my heart goes out to Kimberly for what you all do, because I mean it's heartbreaking, and being in
Yes.
that space of not knowing what's going to happen to you next, was not knowing what's going to actually happen to your family, not realizing what is going, do they really have the power to kill your family? Because that's one of the things that they'll say, I know where you live. I'm going to kill your family. Or if they know where you live, it's like that becomes very real. And then you're thinking that I'm powerless right now in this moment. So that means my loved ones are going to be powerless too. Especially if, with all of this gun violence that we have seen over the last couple of years, over a decade now, so
Mm.
many lives have been taken in this the sex trafficking just doesn't extend to just sex trafficking. It extends to organ donors, being trafficked out here for your organs, being trafficked out here for baby breeding, if you will. So all of those things are, you're at risk, and no one is safe. If you are a walking, talking body, or you don't have to be speaking, as a matter of fact, but if you are walking, and it doesn't matter what your age is, you are at risk. So you have to be vigilant out here in the shopping malls. I hate that we have cell phones to the point where people are not really taking seriously what's happening, that they can be targeted just by talking on their cell phone because they're engaged in the conversation as they're walking along and not knowing the dangers that they are walking into, what people are thinking. That's their private thoughts, that's their private domains. You have no idea when they look at you, oh, that could be a great candidate for what I'm about to do. So
Mhm.
we could talk till we're blue in the face, but we need you to take action for your own self to know that this can happen to you. No one wakes up in the morning and say, "Oh, I'm going to be trafficked today." No, we don't. We didn't do that. So when that happens to you, it's like, okay, it's too late, and you have to be able to communicate in one way or the other in order to get help to you. And who knows where you'll end up being found, that kind of thing. So be vigilant, take measures for yourself. We will be talking after the radio broadcast. We will be talking on social media about this, of how to, um, self defense, that kind of thing for yourself, so that you won't be easily taken down.
Yes.
If you're going to be taken anyway, at least go down with a fight, right? So we'll be talking about
Yes.
you know, and somebody's going to be asking that person a question like, "Oh man, what happened to you?" So you make sure you leave a mark on them some kind of way of letting them know, "Oh, you bothered the wrong person today." I mean, give yourself a
Yes.
fighting chance. All right, so I'm getting off that soapbox. We're gonna say that for the social media part. All right, so moving right along, as my mother would say. Go ahead, Kimberly. I see you with your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm raising my hand. I'm in class.
Okay.
I meant to say this the last show, but one more quick thing. This is a preventative method. I thought about this while Raleen was talking about trying to defend yourself in any way. Don't go easy. But when you
Mm-mm.
buy your children these wonderful tools called cell phones, make sure you turn on two things: the location. Make sure your location is turned on your child's phone. And Life 360 is a free app that you can put on the phone,
Yes.
and it can track your child's phone. It doesn't even show up. But if the location is on, nobody knows the location is on but the person that has the phone and the person that turned the phone on, and of course the phone companies. But that's a way that we can locate your loved one.
We all need that, don't we? We all
Yeah.
need that on our phone. We all need that. So thank you so much, Kimberly, for bringing that up. Raven, would you like to say anything? Come on, come on, Raven. You've been kind of quiet. We want you.
Well, just I know we're getting close to time, but kind of the number one thing that I'm thinking of as we're having this conversation, especially because Alexandria, throughout your book, you talk about how God has been present and His Spirit has been present throughout the entire process. If you're in the middle of one of these situations or you're experiencing some type of abuse, the resources are there, but the number one resource for recovery is having a relationship with Jesus Christ, because
Amen.
He is the one who will empower you to overcome, and then not just to overcome, but to heal, but then also will empower you to share that healing with people around you. If you have not developed a relationship with Jesus Christ, He is a gentleman, and He will
Yes.
never force Himself upon you. He will never demand that you have a relationship with Him. But if you simply ask, He is more than willing to introduce Himself to you. And when you have that door open, it is literally the sky is the limit. Heaven is the limit,
Amen.
because of just how powerful and how capable God is at overcoming these enormous obstacles.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for sharing Jesus with us, because He is
Hmm.
our rock, He is our salvation, but we gotta choose Him. And so, Sorella, with that,
Amen.
I want you. I want to bring Sorella in on this because she told me about a story with her grandson one day, And she told him, she said, Jesus. And he said, Jesus. And so even at his age, he knows about Jesus. So go ahead.
I think Raven, you are spot on. I was waiting toward the end to kind of mention the same thing. When I was introduced to the book, I read the book. I have a couple different perspectives because of my position of actually being in the midst and of the trafficking stuff, and then um, what I took away from it that people might not expect is the fact that it's documenting this whole process. But in the
Yes.
midst of all of this, after everything has been done to her, she knows that God was always there, brought her on out. She could have very easily, been sour to the world. Nobody loves me, nobody cares. How could this happen? But instead, she embraced God's love. And toward the end, I was just like, wow, somebody else's story is probably won't be trafficking, but it could be abuse. It could be mental health. It could be anything. But to be able to come out with it and just embrace the love of God, and just to be able to look back and say, He brought me through all that. He preserved me enough to be able to tell my story to all these people, one person at a time. Well, now she's doing groups, but it's like one person at a time, and that's what it's about. Like if like Raven was saying, it's just like once you accept it in your heart, you know what it looks like. You know what the love of
Yes.
God looks like, and all you want to do is to be able to reciprocate that to other people. And that was kind of my big takeaway. It's like, because I saw myself into that story, with just being abandoned by my mother. And it was just
Mm.
like, it was a whole lot of anger. But once I understood, she's a person too, but she wasn't lucky or blessed enough to be able to have somebody show her that there's something bigger and better in her life for her to go after and seek, you know, that replacement. Because that's what I did. I was like, I know this is not my story. I mean, I know that I was preserved for a reason, and this reason is,
Yes.
running off at the mouth with the Ron Leans of the world, who's connected with people. And I'm always passing through, just being able to just share a little bit of something to where people can remember that it's not me, but it is a higher power, however people try to interpret it, but it's God's love on me. And it's like, I have a job. Everybody has a job to do. And that job is, what's right and what's wrong. Even if you were groomed, not groomed, in your heart that something about this is not right, and just think about it as your
Yes.
own daughter, granddaughter, grandson. If
Mhm.
they were in that situation, would you want this random person to speak up for them? We need
Yes, thank
heroes.
you so much. Yes,
we
that is
need we
absolutely
need them. We need to be our own heroes though first, because we can't expect someone to do something for us on behalf of us if we're not willing to do it, for somebody else as well. So
right.
uh,
That
Yes.
is
that
right.
was
Well,
just great with the book. So please get the book. I'm telling you, like I said, it does hit in different areas for people based on their situation, but read it again and read it again.
right.
You'll get so much. It's just like the Bible. The words pop
Okay,
out
Sorella.
and it comes.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, we'll talk about that after when we transition over to social media. So come on. You have been listening to WBISLP Awesome Radio. We're going to be joined back here next Wednesday, and we'll be talking about
Yes.
identity and being able to think about what we need to do, next steps, and things
Yes.
like that. And we will have our same panel, and we may have some new guests as well. But you won't know until you come back. And so, thank you so much. Welcome. We thank you so much, guests, for being here today. And Raven, you were spot on. I thank you for introducing Jesus Christ to us because um, my heart goes out to you, Kimberly, and what you have to do in this time. And Alexandria, all right, we are back with you all on social media. Thank you so much. And if you're just joining us, I am your hostess today, Ronleen Kennedy, with Human Trafficking and More with Awesome Radio 106.9 LP. And we're in the space of GPAC 23 TV 23. We want to thank all of the staff from both sides, all sides. We're with Alexa. We're with all of the other channels, Roku. So we just want to introduce our panel to you today. We have Raven Steigoff. She is the occult expert resident as well. We have Kimberly Butts. She's the investigator, private investigator now, former police officer. We have Sorella Perry. She's the founder of One. Say that for me.
One vision, one purpose.
One vision, one purpose. Keep trying to transition that into other things. So, anyway, we have her today, and she's speaking out. She's helping you, and so many resources. And then, of course, we have our author, Alexandria Dean. She is a subject matter expert. She has been the one that's been trafficked. She's talked about this in her book, From Heaven to Hell and Back a few times. And I tell you, when I think about the back a few times, I am so glad you're here in this space to be able to let us know what we need to do, what it looks like, what it feels like. So it would leave no doubt in our minds that we have to do something about this. We have to stamp it out, as much as possible. And so we were talking a little bit about your testimony. So for because of people may have just been joining us, we want to tell you about the book giveaway that she has so graciously blessed us with. And the just tell us. I'm so lost for words because I'm so amped up from the show, the broadcast. So I need to calm down. I need that decaf coffee right now.
So we have, the book giveaway, and I am happy to be able to let you guys know that all you have to do is call. You can also put a message on Facebook or YouTube, on either my channel or Awesome Radio, who has been incredible. And let us know that you are interested in the book. And I would personally say thank you and take your information down. So, yes, we have been listening to my rooster in the background. My he was chiming in too. He's like, "Get the book, y'all."
They saw a lot in his lifetime. All the people that's coming through, who knows?
Right. So we also want to make sure that everybody knows to where all you can go for more information, not just from me, but multiple sources of information are going to give you different views and different ways of looking at trafficking. And the Blue campaign is really good, as well as other organizations, just like One Vision, One. What is it again, Sorella?
One vision, one purpose. I got it.
One vision, one purpose. Yeah, there we go.
We also have, I've worked closely with Grindstone Ministries. They're also on Facebook, and they have their website, grindstoneministries.com, and Compass 31, who is the co-founders, husband and wife. My dear friend Jenny Sue, she was trafficked. Um, and she has been running this organization for at least a decade now. And then there's also another sister survivor, Sister Redeemed, in California. She has the Well Path out in California, and she has been extraordinarily fantastic in doing a lot of different activities in changing laws, as well as helping our brothers and sisters in our community, and bringing awareness also. And there's 24/7 out of Florida in Ron Lean's neck of the woods. And another Sister Redeemed, who is running an organization that brings information to the victims right where they are, with QR codes. So those are organizations that you can reach out to for more information, and for a place to bring donations to as well.
All right, Raven, would you tell us about Mercy Ministries?
So Mercy Ministries is they're actually international, but they are an organization that my family has volunteered with and we have supported for years. And they are a combination of a safe house and recovery and rehabilitation organization. They are one of the few organizations that's certified to take on minors, and so they handle teenage pregnancies. But they handle a wide variety. So it can be as severe as human trafficking. It can be drug abuse. It can be severe clinical depression. But they are a completely faith-based organization. There are several locations across the United States, but they're also wonderful and always willing to accept volunteers.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, we have so I want you to talk about that, Alexandria, because one thing I learned about your book, you wanted a family so badly,
Yes.
of your own. And with that being said, I when I think about a person that has been trafficked, when I think about a person who has been abused, all of that kind of thing. Here's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't want a person ever touching me ever again. And so there had to be something that went along with that for you to want a family of your own. And I'm gonna give you a few minutes to talk about that since we're here since I'm bringing that in.
Sure. So I was blessed with, a couple that really took me under the wing spiritually. And, I would say to her, and this was at the beginning of my journey of healing. And I would say, I just don't want anybody to touch me. She says, honey, it's not the touch that's bad. And I looked at her all kinds of sideways funny. I was like, what are you talking about? Woman, I don't think you know what you're talking about. But, those things come across your face when she's like, no, 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 no. It's not the touch that is bad. It is by whom and what season. So otherwise, we would not want to be touched by God. So that rang so loud in my heart, in understanding the timing of things and understanding who the touch is from and when. So that I was able to bring to my own children. I do have a couple of children, and I was very, 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 very vigilant, simply because of where I came from. And so, but eventually I learned balance. And God bless my babies. they they had to endure some things from me and being overprotective. So, but I think one of the biggest hurdles was understanding that I had to embrace where I was, that my past had to be in the past. It has no right invading my present. And once I put things to rest from my past, that my present is a lot more doable. That I'm able to face what needs to be faced in the present, and that nobody else has to suffer for what somebody else did. It's just unfair, and it's not right to have everybody punished for the one things or the things that happened by someone else. Just because one apple is bad doesn't mean the whole bunch is bad. And too many times things are wasted that way. So,
Mm, that you're spot on. So, Sorella, you know, we were having a conversation about the different rings and things that's going on with sex trafficking. And this is your time that I really want you to expound on some of that, as far as being able to take your power back, if you can.
Right. Yeah, being that there's so many tactics that are being used with targeting individuals. I spoke on the last show about how social media was being used to be able to lure um, people in, not just women, but also young men as well. And throughout the process of just how things are done, um, it's almost as if they have to get smarter as technology gets better and techniques, different techniques are being used. For example, uh, the good old AirTag that's supposed to be used for your luggage and your lost keys and stuff. They're now using air tags, putting them in the vehicles of individuals who
mhm,
have children and stuff like that. That actually did happen. My daughter was leaving Walmart, and because she has an iPhone, it actually detected that there was an unknown device in or around her car. So of course, that's like a the biggest scare, because it's like a this almost happened type situation, that just keeps your awareness up. Like, it literally is just a trip to the grocery store that could alter, your life or your loved one's life, or someone that you know. Um, so with everything just being so layered and people hush hush and all that type of stuff, it makes it a little harder, but it's worth being able to get that little extra education on um, what it is that we can be doing. It's the smallest things, the speaking up, the paying attention to the surroundings, um, reporting, of course, what it is that you see. I think a lot of times too, it's like this is not like a regular type situation with that you have to deal with crime in your neighborhood. No one likes snitches, but this is totally different. This is not a situation to where you even have to possibly even be around the people to know that you've reported them. Um,
mhm,
but it's so necessary for you to be able to do. And even if so, like, at the end of the day, it's if it was your close members, you will do it. So just know that, sometimes, yeah, the world is cruel. However, that one piece of information could be the piece that starts building cases against people and that kind of thing. So just kind of do our parts, because the aftermath of all of that one event could take years and years and years for someone to be able to get over and to rebuild their life. And we talk about generational things, the things that happen to us if we don't sort it all out and process it and move forward from it. We pass those same things out of fear, you know, instead of education, you know, to our children, and it just kind of goes into a situation where it goes the people go into the world with the wrong perception on how to deal with it. It could be
Mm.
avoidance. Avoidance is not the answer. Education and knowing what to do. They were just, I think Kimberly was talking about the kids having cell phones, but do they know how to call 911? Do they know like the proper procedures to be able to say, hey, if you see this, this is what you do? 360 is great because it has a little feature in it to where it has like quick text on things like so it's not like a situation to where uh the perpetrator would even know that they're texting someone because it's within the app of the circle of trusted people. So I just say that it's a long process even after, you know, the rescue and all that kind of stuff. That's just where it begins, you know, to be able to know
Yeah.
that you're safe, to be able to have to process it, getting the help psychologically. You know, it's already hard to trust people, but when you're in a situation like that, you have to be vulnerable enough to say, okay, well, let me try to trust one more time. And maybe
Mhm.
this is it to where I could be able to get the help that I need to go back to living a normal, I say that, a normal life, or one that is not, you know, out of fear of being taken advantage of in any type of way.
Thank you for that. And Raven, what was your experience like walking through with someone that has have to remember all that they went through because they just blotted it out, you know, as their mechanism of being able to cope with everyday life?
So, I had the privilege of getting to kind of pray with Alexandria during some of the last parts or most recent parts of her healing journey. And first of all, it is a huge honor to get to be just in somebody's life that is going through that. And to
Yes.
know that in this moment, for this time, I am literally a living representative, a living ambassador for Jesus Christ in this person's life during this time. And when you really, really break it down like that and you take it that seriously, like right now, because I am a believer and I am accountable to the King of the universe for every single word that comes out of my mouth, for every single prayer that I pray, you take that burden really seriously because it's heavy. And in that moment, it's okay, now I get to walk with this person. I get to pray for or with this person. And how do I gift some of that eternal life that I have been gifted by Jesus? And letting that really inform how I pray and how I walk with this person because it's a journey. It is a long, hard journey that is filled with tears. It is filled with so much pain. But one of my favorite Psalms reminds us that God catches
Mm.
every tear in his bottle. He has every single one written on his scroll. And that means just no matter how many times you cry, no matter how many times you break down, or it's hard, or it's tough, God remembers every single one of them. He is there carrying you through every single memory. Every time you have that memory, every time that you can't take it anymore, he is right there holding your hand, wanting to go with you, feeling it with you, even
Yes.
when nobody else understands. Because I have a completely different background than Alexandria does. There's no way that I can really like wrap my mind around what she has gone through, but I don't have to. God can. God does. And so, with His help, I am able to be a support and an encouragement and a partner walking through that journey. And that is the one of the highest honors that I can think of, just getting to
Mhm.
be there for someone.
Thank you so much.
And she did
And
it well.
yes, yes, she did.
Mhm.
So thankful that she was there. And so, with that, I'm going to transition over to Kimberly now. And so, Kimberly, what is your recommendation for? Because, like I said, I'm the warrior of the bunch. You know, I'm just sorry. God made me like that. I mean, I came out fighting. So, so just tell us, what can we do, to equip ourselves personally with the defense. Like I said, when anybody bother me, I want them to know that they were in the fight. I want them to know that I'm not going down easy. That's just not going to be me. So talk to me.
Okay, so one of the things is so funny that you said that is when you pray, cover your children. After you pray and you cover your children, once they leave the house, you cover your daughter. Now we're starting on what can I do? What's in my power? Kids are never too young to learn how to defend themselves. I taught my children when they were like 6 and 7 years old to know the areas to go for. Poke someone in the eyes, hit them in the eyes, a upper thrust with the palm of the hand in the nose as hard as they can, giving them enough time to jar their thinking, break the pattern. I think it's important to let your kids know that they never need to have a normal schedule. Always change your direction of travel. Be a half a second late, a minute too early. Don't do the same thing every day. If you're going to the grocery store, you're driving to the grocery store, leaving, going, traveling the same direction every single day is not good. It's a pattern. You're easy prey when you're very when your pattern is very typical, or you're very, I know what she's going to do in the morning. I know what you're going to eat. Change it up. She's going to go to the coffee shop on the third, to the Starbucks every day. No, change it up. Be late. Be different. I used to say we were so unpredictable. I was like, okay, so we're not going to do breakfast at school today. We're going to go do breakfast here. We're going to go to Chick-fil-A. No, we're not going to go to Chick-fil-A today. But, leaving, being different, being vigilant of your surroundings, because you make it hard for a predator to make it easy to take your kids by knowing your everyday route, knowing your pattern, not changing it. Um, the second thing is also making sure if your child has a cell phone, making sure that your child's cell phone has its location open. If you don't have Life 360, if you don't put it on, which the app is amazing, if you don't put that on, always turn on the location. You can find your cell phone, you can find an iPhone, you can find the app, and know that the iPhone never turns off. Even if someone physically turns it off, your iPhone still sends a signal. As well as knowing that you can take those tags and use it for your benefit. They're little tags, the GPS, the iPhone locators that you put on your luggage. Put it in your kid's book bag. Put them on the inside of the tennis shoe, underneath the sole. Pull back the sole of the tennis shoe, put the tracker inside the GPS tracker tag and the tennis shoe, close the tennis shoe back. They won't even know it's there. And you'll always know where your child is at any time of the day. Put it in the book, in the school book. Put a tag on the back of the school book. They take their book, or they know they're going to take the instrument to band, or they're going to take the football cleats to the school. Put it in the cleats. Put it on the helmet. I put it up under like a one of those stickers. Take the GPS locator, put it on there, and then put a goofy sticker on top of the tracker. Then the assailant won't know what it is. There are things that we can do to be creative. Um, we can sit down what I do is sit down with my clients and I'll talk to them about different ways, other avenues, things that they can take. And one of the things is the big use that everybody has. Everybody got a cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone. Did you know you can mirror your child's cell phone? Go in and you can put your phone number into go into the let's see, the settings app of your phone, and put your phone number in there. You'll mirror their phone. So you'll get all their texts, you'll get all of the phone calls that your child gets, it comes to you. So any phone call that they get, whatever. There are ways to be vigilant out here. And I think one thing that is so great now is what we didn't have before. Like when Alexis was going through her situation, was we have technology now. We have street cameras. We have door rings. We have doorbell rings record a whole lot of stuff. Within 24 hours of a child's missing, one of the things that I like to go through is go through the neighborhood, find all the doorbell rings on that street, go to every house, and we can piece together, track the child based on the doorbell rings. What is recording? I have pieced together a whole entire day one day from a doorbell ring. Just going to one house. This is what happened at the top of the day. It's important to be vigilant. And the next thing is like teaching your child that you are not small enough that you can do something. Yell fire, yell something's burning, somebody's taking me. Always scream, no matter what.
Use
They
your voice.
be quiet, you scream louder.
Yes.
It's a fire. It's a fire. It's a fire. You know, bomb is a big word. It triggers everybody. Everybody responds to a bomb. If your child is being taken, say it's a bomb. You know, you want to shock the assailant. You want to throw them off. You want to throw them off guard. You want to make them have to think or come up with another way. Because most times when your plan is broken and your plan doesn't go another way is when you mess up, you make mistakes, you leave chances to be caught. If you veer out in any kind of direction. I worked for Mercy Ministry. I wanted to throw that in there too. I used to work for them. Yeah, I did, in Nashville. So, that's
What
what I
is
wanted to say.
ministry? It's
I
Mercy.
did.
Hey.
I did. I was a counselor for them in Nashville. I was.
Okay. What is Mercy Ministries?
Mercy Ministries is a group that takes at-risk children, girls. They have a boys as well, different program. Any child that's at risk or any child that has gone through something traumatic. They try to counsel them, help them. I dealt with a lot of girls that had eating disorders. So, and one of the eating disorders come along is trying to regain your power after being raped, abused, or trafficked. I know, right? I've been doing this for a goodness, a long time. So God truly called me a long time ago to be a help, to be a service to people. And they were like, one of the things that, I find so funny, Raylene, is that when I went to go do warrants, break in the house and do searches, and people would have guns, and they were like, my partner would say, okay, I know you're going to be nervous. I know you're going to be afraid. And I was like, no, I'm not. Because if God says it's time for me to leave here, then guess what? I'm leaving here no matter what. I'm leaving here, and by the grace of God, I'm going where He intends me to go. Period. One of my favorite scriptures is, if I make my bed in hell, you're with me. If I rise above the mountains, and knowing that you're with me, no matter where I go, you're with me, that God is with you. And if you could tell anybody that you find that's in a situation, the girl on the street, that God is with her. God is with her in the hotel room. God is with her when she's in the room locked up. I had a girl that was being about to be kidnapped, about to be taken off the street, Raleen. And she just started calling on the name of Jesus. She just started saying, Jesus. She was just screaming and yelling, Jesus. The guy he was like, what? She said, Jesus. And she yelled. She's like, oh my God. He yelled. She yelled again. She said, Jesus. And he was like, oh, and ran away. He ran away. And that's all she did. I don't care what you tell your child to do. If they got to yell, it's a bomb. If they got to yell, Jesus. Whatever you tell your child to do it with great. We just went out. I don't know.
No, we're here. We can
Oh,
hear
okay. Do it with great intention. Let your child know to be as loud and boisterous as possible and very intentional with their action. Be quick about it and know when somebody is following them. That little hair that sticks up on the back of their necks. Children have a great ability to be very perceptive, and they have discernment. We might just say, oh, they're nice and they're kind. But I remember my daughter when she was little and she was like 2 or 3. There was a guy that was at our church who was molesting kids. He actually went to prison for 130 counts. He'll never get out of prison, ever. Ever. But she would never go to them. Never. She would never let him touch her. It was just, and we were like, well, why she don't like Rodney? Why she won't go with Rodney? Why she won't sing with the other kids or spend the night when the kids go spend the night? My daughter was like, no. Knowing that your child's no means no. They might not even know why they're saying no. But listen. And that's it. That's all I got.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I remembered, I love Sorella so much because that is a warrior knows a warrior, and I just love that. And so when she received her phone call or whatever the case may be, um, that woman loaded her car up and she was gone. She was gone to the rescue. So I'm like, I don't know what happened when she got there, or what happened or whatever, but hey, she reclaimed what was hers. How about that? And I just love that. So I want to give a shout out to Corey Jordan, who's listening to us today. He said, don't force your kids to hug and kiss on family if they don't want to. And that goes so spot on to what you were saying, because that discernment is there. And we know we hear it all of the time. There's always somebody in the family who isn't right, just not wrapped tight in their heads or whatever, but the children have been exposed to them. Or I'll take my son for an example, and he can tell you that I'm still like that to this day. I feel like when they are children, they are close to their angels. They can, they have that instinct. They hear that, they have that hearing ear or what have you. And if I was around someone and that child went to acting strange or whatever, and some of you in this panel, you all know him, so you know who he is today, right? And so if he did not agree with you in any kind of way, didn't like you, or he would back up from you or that kind of thing, I started paying attention to that, because had I listened to him like early on in my life with him, I would the mistakes that I made along the way, they would never been made. However, when you're listening to your child, that causes correction if you value what you've been teaching your child. That's the whole key right there. If you've been teaching your child and you do not value what you have taught your child, then there's an error on your part. But when you value what you have taught them and they are able to stand firmly on your teaching, then you need to listen. You need to pay attention. You need to be vigilant in what's going on or what have you. So when people will come into our lives or whatever, and Jerome say, "Oh, that's a no." That's the no. Like, come on, let's go. Let's not tarry here or whatever. And then you find out later on in your life, who that person is and who that person was, before you ever met them. And my heart goes out to our transgender people, because they're getting it from all sides, and we have to do what we can to protect each other. We have to, and I always say, be in a habit of covering one another's gaps. And so I want to transition into safe side, Raven. You taught me about safe side, and this is the perfect time to bring safe side in. And then, Kimberly, I want you to back up what safe side is, and then we're going to hear from Alexandria.
So I love, so the program is called The Safe Side. Their main character is Safe Side Super Chick, who is designed to be a children's kind of superhero character. You can Google it, you can YouTube it for free on YouTube. But the phrase, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, is way too small to compare with the prevention of, there are things you can never undo. There are things that you cannot undo, that you cannot unremember, that you cannot unexperience. And so, as a parent, if you can work together as a family, work and educate your children. So it's not just like, okay, if somebody does this, this is what you need to do. It's no, how do you actually create a real workable system that you and your family and your children can understand and implement, so that that never happens to your child. Kind of like telling, okay, this is what we need to do in case of a fire. You still run a fire drill. So that way you actually can practice and use all that knowledge. So if something does happen, you know what to do. That's kind of what the safe side resources are like, is it's like a fire drill. So it's not just conceptually, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to let this happen. It's how do you actually not let this happen. So highly recommend those resources. The program is again called The Safe Side, and you can YouTube it for free. And they recently came out with internet safety. So you've been talking about internet predators, that is growing and growing and growing. Will give you a formula on how do you not only teach your children internet safety, but how do you create a system so that your children are not victims of predators.
Thank you so much for that. Kimberly?
Okay, clicking off mute. Sorry. All right. So, working to help parents being, I guess, more aware of what's going on around your child and who's in your circle. You know, I run a lot of background checks on the sitters, on teachers, on counselors. If they ever find something different with parents, and letting them know. I think it's important to make sure that we not only vet our circle, but we make sure our circle, who's in the there's an echo, in the kids' lives that are there, that they're there. And you got to understand, because predators are able to blend in everywhere. Predators go to church. Predators are teachers. We've got predators that are not even reported. There's so many that got by and got through that are not reported. We had for one example, I'm sorry, let me say this real quick. We had a predator that lived across the street from an elementary school. When the flag was up, the wife was not home. If the flag was down, the kids could come in and get popsicles. Okay, when the kids came in and got popsicles, the predator did whatever he wanted to the kids to give them a gift or treat. This went on for a while. We had so many photos collected at that time across the street from their area because no one knew that a predator was staying so close to the school and he wasn't registered. So it's important that we stay vigilant in looking around our surroundings, passing it on to our grandkids, or our children's children and everybody else, that they're getting smarter. Who would have thought when the flag was down that was time for the kids to come there? Nobody thought that that was a sign. We just thought, well, he put the flag down. He put the flag up for some reason. No big deal. Um, until the kids started telling the parents, this happened. We stopped by here. He gave me this and he gave me money. I had a teacher give one of my sons money. She would give, and he would come home with a bunch of money in his pocket. And I couldn't understand, why is she giving you money? And it was like, because he was good today. Well, we need to find another way to award him, because doing what he's supposed to do is not a reward. It's an encouragement to keep doing it. And money is not what you give a child. So letting kids know that, and letting young ladies know that when you're out somewhere and you go on a date and your first impression of the person is very controlling. I want you to ride with me. No, I'm taking my own car. No, you ride with me. We've had young ladies taken on dates. They go out on a date. We just went out on a date. I met him online. I went on a date and she's missing, or she doesn't come home. Take your own vehicle. And making sure that you know the people that you're dealing with. Really.
Thank you so much. And can someone speak about what Corey Jordan was saying? Check the browsing history on internet, because that is very important.
Yes. Uh, Checking to make sure that, because there's several different reasons for that. Because people can download um, uh, by attaching to your browser sometimes. I'm not exactly sure how it all works, but seeing where your child has been online, seeing where somebody, points of entry into your personal space is important. But um, you know the word predator gives a lot of different indications. So my worst abuser and my biggest trafficker was my mother. We wouldn't normally think that um, that would be who the the trafficker would be, is a woman. Women don't do those kinds of things. Um, and So I just wanted to reiterate that a trafficker, is someone that is looking for vulnerabilities, that is looking for vulnerabilities to use you or to um, abuse you. Because there are there are multiple forms of trafficking. We have organ trafficking, we also have labor trafficking, and we have sex trafficking. Um, and when we are looking at just a predator, and I don't, I want to reiterate what Kim is saying, um, and that it's the trafficker is looking for vulnerabilities um, to do whatever it is that they're seeking to do. Um, so there are also lots of different ways um, to double check your children's tracking, um, and ways to block and prepare and take care of your electronics. So uh,
Someone was also saying spyware, adware, backdoor Trojans. Um, so one of the ways too is when you're updating your laptop, your phone, different things like that, make sure that you know exactly where that's coming from, because they'll attach to a DLL file so that they can monitor something on your phone or on your laptop or on your tablet. But some of these other like spywares and stuff like that will help you point out, hey, nope, you don't want to download that. So there's a lot of different ways, but educating our children, don't keep them in the dark. Um, but we need to educate them, let them know these things, not to promote fear, because we don't want to promote fear. I don't want you to be in fear. I want to make sure that you are educated so that you are confident in what you know. So go get that information and pass that to your children. Your children need to know, hey, these things happen out there. Mine used to say, you're crazy, mom. That is so not happening. No, yes, it does. Yes, it does. So then have others, find multiple sources of information, because that multiple sources of information is going to back up what you're telling them. And, because when you have a teenage daughter, they know it all. I was a teenage daughter and I knew it all. I grew up and found out I knew nothing. um, uh, so, when we when we educate our children, they become confident in what they know. And when they are confident in what they know, they walk upright. They walk with their shoulders up, and they don't give the impression to a trafficker that they are able to be taken or overpowered in some fashion, because when you know more, you walk more confidently in it, and that says a lot to predators that are looking to cause harm. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for that.
Okay, welcome.
Um, real quick, Raleen, you were saying about what Corey was saying is
Mm.
checking the browser history. Corey is an investigator. This is how we think. So 12. Okay, remember this. This is after something happens. So take it your child is gone. They didn't come home from school. The worst has happened. Stay calm. First of all, stay calm. Pray. Ask for peace. The first thing is to remember that you've got a 12, 18, 24, and a 48 hour with a child. The first 12 hours, you want to check the browser history to find out what the child has deleted, what the child was looking at, what the teen was looking at prior to it. The next step is to check the phone. That's what he was talking about, checking the phone history, phone logs. Hopefully, you parents, you're paying the bills. And if you're paying the bills, you have a right to ask about anything concerning that phone. There is nothing that someone texts or put in their phone that is destroyed. It's always there. Remember that. So you can delete a text, but a text is not truly gone. You can delete a video, but it's not truly gone unless you get it from the cloud or upline. But if you go to your phone providers, you can retrieve every text message, every phone call. You can also go to the cloud if you have their email address. And if they're children, I don't think children have a right to certain kinds of privacy. I think you have a right to trust, but you don't have a right to privacy until you're paying your own bills. Personally, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. But knowing and then backtracking with their friends. But we have a small window when it comes to kids, and it determines the age of the child. 15 and under, your window is 12 to 24 hours when that child goes missing. That's why Amber Alerts are in place. That's why you need to know and be vigilant, to call when they don't come home from school, if they don't report anything, if their schedule changes anyway. It starts immediately. It gets a little longer when you are older and you are adult, because young adults are taking just as much as children are.
Yes.
And that's what people don't realize. A 24-year-old goes to Walmart to get groceries, doesn't make it home. You have 72 hours in that window to find her track, her trail, to trace it. Videos from Walmart, anything. Go to the stores, because after 7 days, all public video cameras, they recycle themselves. So that's why I said stay calm and think.
It's almost like you have to put your steps in now, like a SOP or standard operating procedure, what to do
Yes, yes,
in
yes,
in case of emergency. I remember the phone books back in the day. All of the numbers will be written on those phone books so that you will know, hey, if I'm not available, call here. If that person isn't available, call there. And so we need to go back to the old school methods, because that is what brought us to where we are now, to wherein we have technology in place, but we do not need to forget the baby steps that it took in order to get there, so that we can put that into our as you say, cell phones. What the first steps is, go to your notes if you have to, so that you can follow that, because as watching the stories, first 48, every second is important. Every detail is important. I remember the Boston bomber. Remember that? They said they collected a lot of phones or whatever, and that's how they were able to get to the bottom of it. So we have to do those ABCs just like that, and don't forget, the one, two, threes into that process as well. All right. So Raven, I wanted to bring it over to you, because I wanted you to give our audience those steps and measures of what it was that you went through the process on when you were walking with Alexandria through her trauma of her having to get down to the nitty gritty so she can get back to living a full life. And with you have not experienced any of the things that we're talking about, but you've been on that end to wherein you're helping the person walk through the healing process. Talk a little bit more about that for our audience. And then Alexandria, I want you to chime in and talk about what made you write your book, to be able to go through those scary moments and having to relive those things again.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I see all of this. So this sounds like kind of like really basic, but just when I was with Alexandria, I was just there. A lot of times I wouldn't say anything. I would let her either vent or talk about or not talk about whatever it was that she was like experiencing or going through, and just be there. Just really genuinely, like, just be there of just, you're not alone. I don't care if I just have to breathe next to you. If that comforts you and makes you feel better, I'll be right here with you. Do you need a hug? Do you just need to sit next to you? Whatever it is that I can do to, in a really practical way, just be a comfort. And I think that might make kind of how I walked through that with her different than what a lot of other people do. Is a lot of other people go, oh, well, I need to do A, B, C, or D to be comforting. And I look at it as, well, I have no idea, because you're unique. What do you need to be comforted? And I think there were some times where she would share a little bit. There would be other times I would kind of look at her and I'm like, here, let me just tell like funny stories or blah, 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 whatever it is, to get your mind off of whatever it is that you're going through, because sometimes you just need a break. You need a break from just going through and processing all of that trauma. And I'll let other people say this because, of course, my ego, my opinion of myself is not to be trusted. I love to tell like goofy stories of just like whatever it is that happened that day. I'm like, okay, how can I make this like funny? And we'll make that just an entertaining escape. And that just gives her a minute to breathe and just to not be thinking about what's going on. And I really enjoyed that. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, it's just an honor to have gotten to just be there, as basic as it is, just to be there.
Okay, go ahead, Alexandria. What was it like to have her there in that space with you?
Oh, it was everything. Absolutely everything. And I think one of the most important things that you really did, Raven, is let me express, and also tell you what I need. And there were times when I didn't know what I needed, and you would tell a funny story. The chicken is what comes to mind. But that's for another time. They may not find it as funny as we did, though.
Now, I want to know about the chicken, to be honest with you. Somebody that's probably listening right need to know about that chicken. After we heard the rooster today, I mean, that's so spot on, ain't
So
it?
the 15-second version is I got to butcher a chicken. And God has a sense of humor in that when you have to butcher a chicken, the way God made the chicken can be very, very funny. And that's the 15-second version.
Oh, that's not working. That's not working
No.
for
So she was making the chicken sing after the chicken was
Oh,
gone.
okay. 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 And I can see how you can
I
bring
mean,
joy
it was a
to that.
gruesome, but
Okay.
it was it filled the need that I had at the time.
Oh,
I was telling another friend not long ago, probably yesterday, um, uh, our humor when you've been through some pretty intense things. We find some of the strangest things funny that other people would be like, what? That's just not right. you know so um it was really good that Raven would check in with me. It wasn't just a um how you doing kind of thing. Keep on
I
going.
don't believe in those questions.
Right, and that's exactly what
How are
she would
you?
tell me.
No.
I'm not believing you right now. Tell me the truth, because I'm here to listen. And it was very, very healing, because I was being heard. When you don't know that your voice is making a sound, and you don't know that people are actually listening, it is powerful when someone says, I'm listening. What I hear you say is, and those are the words that she used with me. And it had such an amazing impact. And it really let me know I do have a voice. Um, it had been silenced, but I do have a voice, and my voice is powerful. Um, and coming through the healing that I was going through, I made it a point to take my worst memory ever and go through what they call prolonged exposure therapy. And so that is a therapy where you're listening to yourself tell the worst story, the worst testimony ever of your memory. And you listen to it every day. You listen to the most detailed telling every day, and it was traumatic. But I had sisters like Raven, and others, but she was very, very impactful to walk with me as I took this journey. The Lord set this time aside for me, and it was 15 months. In the beginning, I was like, okay, only 3 months, right? Because we don't we want to take the road of least resistance most days, you know. So you know, the thought of being sat down for 15 months wasn't going to go over well with me. So the Lord took it in chunks of time with me, but told me up front, this is what we're doing. But I didn't realize that's what we were doing until it was all done. And Raven was there for that ending too. um, and how free I became at the end of it, and on a very powerful in a very powerful time frame. And I love what you said, Raven. You said there are no words to describe that kind of freedom, and she's right. So, yes,
Well, thank
thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. So I want to transition over to Sorella. You mentioned about the smart tags or whatever kind of tags being on your car. To me, I'm just so floored right now about the endochrome and all of that. It's like, okay, what are those things? I mean, just talk to me. You're muted.
I think when it comes to the technology, like Kim was saying, it can be used for good and it can be used for evil. The predators are using it to their advantage for luring, um, or because I think now this has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Probably from the time that um, Alexandra was going through, it was more streets and physical hand to hand. And it's like now it's like, they're needing, it's almost like a quota type deal. We need to ramp up to get more people and less amount of time, for it to either be, people be transported. And it's not necessarily, I mean, it could be, it's not necessarily a situation to where um, someone is talking you into something to be doing it in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's like they're getting it and then they're shipping people all different places and that kind of thing. So to keep up with numbers and all that kind of stuff, they're just having to get a little bit smarter using the technology that's already out there that's intended for good, to their benefit. um and I think, from the other show that we had, is like it's the evil intention behind it all. You just have to sometimes think like the investigator, think like, um, like we think everything is innocent, like it may have been back in the day, but you have to have eyes and ears and stuff like that, not only just on yourself, because I have two daughters. We all could be targets. You know what I mean? So, um, and it could not be a situation where it's you're a body basically. So it's not like back in the day where it's a preference. I want that one because they fit a certain. It's like now, you know, anybody can be sold, and it's like a situation to where um, it's just harder because they can take anybody. Um, the thing too though with the older parents. Some people have not embraced technology. They need to embrace technology just for the mere fact of it, can potentially be used um, against us, just for the awareness, people not being able to turn on their phone. And, that's something that we just have to get over. We have to have at least the baseline stuff to be able to understand what is going on around us. Because you can't tell me give me a list of things to do after something happens, and I don't even know how to go to my settings on my phone to do the GPS or whatever the case may, not GPS, but the location and all that kind of stuff. So, um, but that's where kind of we come involved, the different small groups that we have, around the country that has been spoken about. Those might be over some people's heads, but sometimes we need that basic. Oh, okay, here is a class, and some people might laugh, but it's necessary. Here's a class on how to understand how to even work your phone for your good, especially if you have teenagers or even college students and stuff like that, because there's a lot of stuff that's happening on college campuses as well. But if we can't expect a person to be timely 12 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours if they haven't a clue. Some people, you can ask them, you can get burner phones out of gas stations now. You don't even have to have a cell phone plan and stuff like that. So sometimes people just don't really know what's going on with their kids and young adults, because they can be so private and all that kind of stuff. But, just the basic stuff would be a good fundamental thing to kind of just teach people when of what to do, the text numbers or whatever the case may be, and how to use the phone. What is the proper thing to do after you call the police and they may or may not do something? Does anybody even know what that next step is to to be persistent with the follow-up? I've always been told um, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So sometimes you have to be very, very adamant about, this is happening. Please check it out. And my takeaways from these meetings that we've been having has been phenomenal, because I hear in my head Kim saying, make them do their job. So if everybody does their job along the way, there's a big piece of information that has already been gathered by the time something else kind of happens. So my thing is just be aware, even us as adults, new technology, where some people try to stay away from it, but it's here. It's here. You might as well embrace it, understand how you can be able to use it to your advantage, and also understand it to the point of what you can be able to do, if something tragic does happen.
Thank you so much for that. I want to thank Corey Jordan for all that has been for comments today, because that, what was offered, cell phone cameras, cover them up if they're not in use, because you there's so much information can be learned just tapping into a camera, um, tapping into the voice part. I know the company that I work with, they talk about, you could be talking about a item that you like, that you wanted to order off of Amazon, and all of a sudden you're flooded with all of these ads or whatever. And it was just a conversation. I had not looked at the item one yet, to go check it out, but all of a sudden I'm receiving all of these ads for the particular items that, were being discussed over the phone. So that means that someone has tapped in, with their analytics or whatever, to know what the phone conversation is. Not only that, um, Corey Jordan said, let parents know their chat what their child is receiving on their phone. So that goes back to what Kimberly was saying. Listen, you got to mirror the phone. You have to know what texts are coming in, what's being said, what's going out, or whatever. I think about something that Sorella had shared with me about on Friday nights at her house with her children. They sit down, and it's a free zone, to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, right or wrong, good, bad, or indifferent. Nobody gets in trouble or whatever. But it gave her an opportunity to learn what was happening with her children, what they were thinking about. So I think we all need to practice this, and it goes back to what Raven was talking about, the safe side. We all need our friends, our family members or whatever to chime in. It's no longer you be set aside by yourself or whatever as an island. We were never meant to operate that way. So
Mhm.
we need to get back to um, helping each other to help us, if you will, to wherein it's code words that we could say if we're in trouble or whatever the case may be, because that might be the only phone call that a person will get a chance to understand that, hey, something is wrong with Raven, something is wrong with Sorella, something is wrong with Kimberly, something is wrong with Alexandria, something is wrong with Ron Ling, because they gave the safe word or whatever kind of word that is. And north, south, east, west. Give you something to be able to find out. Okay, what direction should I start looking in? For that person or whatever. So we need those are things that we can equip ourselves with. And I'm afraid we're out of time. But before we leave, I want to give Alexandria a hand of praise, because
Awesome.
of being able to share that book with us. And if you want the book, please put it in the comments that you want the book. We have plenty of them to give away. And so you can, if you already have one, be able to pass that on to someone else to be able to read that journey, because we never know when our own journey is going to start. But our own journey starts today of being able to help others, because there are people crying out for help. So, Alexandria, take it away, and then I will invite us back to next week. What is next week's context going to be?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you all. Um, we will be talking about, oh, and I did not pull it up,
Okay,
a couple of
I got,
different things, but
yeah, I
the,
got.
oh, good. I'll let you
Oh,
tell them.
all right.
Um,
We're going to be talking about identity. We're going to be talking about who are you. Raven is going to share with us about trafficking within the occult. That's going to be an interesting topic. So please come back for that. All right. And the types of trafficking. Being the shining light in darkness. We're going to find out what that
Mm.
is. And the importance of knowing the police and your representatives and forming a good relationship. This is not the time to be out here making people upset about the about who they are and what profession that they've chosen or whatever, because they're protecting and serving you. They have families too, that they need to protect as well. So this is not that time. This is that time to be able to form that union of compassion in our community, to be able to embrace the fact that, hey, when something happened at your house, I don't have time to be sitting on the phone with 911 and they still haven't answered. I've had that experience a couple of weeks ago. It did not feel good. So you need someone right there. That's why you need your top five. Just in case 911 isn't working that day for whatever reason, you need somebody to be able to come to your rescue, to be able to help you, talk you through whatever the situation is. And we can't be scared anymore. I mean, once you've had something tragic happen to you or whatever, you got to come out fighting. And I'm a firm believer in that. I'm wearing my mother's bracelet today for faith. That's what her bracelet says, faith. And so it's like you have to have faith in belief in God, that He put you in this world for a reason, and you need to be carrying out whatever reason that was that He put you here for, because you don't know when your time is up. But you need to make sure that the world felt the impact of you. So go ahead,
Mhm.
Alexandria. I told what it is, so now that you know what it is, bring it on.
all right. So I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things. Um, one, you know, w- just like Ronline was saying, we can't always count on someone else. We can't always count on the law, even. Because honestly, no one has ever been charged with anything that has ever been done to me. Um, so we can't always count on those things, but we can absolutely 100% count on the Lord to always be there for us. It may not be what we want to be going through, and it may not look the way we want things to look, but I can guarantee you, He is there all the way through, and He will lead you and guide you. It's just a matter of whether you're going to surrender to it or not. So, with that being said, um, be your best today and be present today, because tomorrow will take care of itself. But if you're here today and you're in your present today, you will make a big impact on whomever it is that is in front of you. So it is important to be present. It is important to keep our eyes on the Lord no matter what's going on, and trust that He will have us, because He always does.
Well, thank you so much for
Mhm.
that. And we're going to be giving a book out to Corey Jordan today. Thank you so much for claiming your book.
Yay!
So next Wednesday, 10
Yes.
o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Central Time.
Mhm.
We'll be talking about this again. And I just want you to know in the last week of this month is just on the 31st. We will be doing a question and answer session. So we will address all of the past questions that was given, and we will address the new questions as well. I even have questions of my own that has come up. And I want you all, in your various industries to think about if you do not have the human trafficking training and you understand now that you need that training, please go to the department heads to let them know that you have found a resource, which is Alexandria Dean, to be able to administer that training for you. So with that said, um, are all hearts clear in this panel?
Yes.
All right. All right. So you have been listening to Awesome Radio 106.9 LP FM. And I just want to tell you, we thank all of you who have been in this journey with us, and we invite you back next week. And so until then, be vigilant, do something, say something, and my heart goes out to you, Kimberly, for what's in front of you to be able to bring these people to justice and to be able to get these people from being victims to being survivors, and then, as what Alexandria Dean say, family being redeemed. So until then, next week, we look forward to chatting with you again. Goodbye now.